The sun bathed the university campus in a golden glow, casting long shadows as students bustled about. The air was thick with the hum of intellectual debates and youthful energy. Professors hurried between classes and students gathered in small clusters, discussing everything from politics to philosophy. Amidst the vibrant chaos, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Professor Adrian Hart strode through the campus with an air of confidence. His sharp angular features and piercing blue eyes commanded attention. Known for his charismatic yet controversial lectures, Hart had a reputation for stirring up debates and challenging conventional wisdom. His every word was a weapon, and his wit was as sharp as a scalpel. As he walked, students and faculty alike parted to make way, some nodding in respect, others whispering behind their hands. Hart's reputation preceded him, and his presence was always felt. The lecture hall was packed to capacity, the air thick with anticipation. Students and faculty alike filled the seats, eager to hear what Hart had to say. The room buzzed with whispered conversations and the rustle of notebooks. Hart took the stage, his presence commanding the room. He scanned the audience with a piercing gaze before beginning his lecture. "Good evening, everyone," he began, his voice smooth and confident. "Today we delve into a topic that has been the cornerstone of human belief for centuries: religion." The room fell silent, every eye on him. Religious beliefs have shaped societies, inspired art, and guided moral compasses. But what happens when we examine these beliefs under the microscope of reason and logic? Hart paused, letting his words sink in. What happens when we question the very foundations of our faith? He launched into a scathing critique of religious beliefs, targeting Jesus Christ with particular intensity. His words were sharp, cutting through the air like a knife. Some students applauded, their faces alight with admiration, while others gasped, their expressions a mix of shock and disapproval. The next morning, the campus was abuzz with the news. Hart's lecture had been recorded and uploaded to social media, and it had gone viral overnight. The video was a sensation, sparking heated debates across social media platforms. Public outcry was immediate. Some praised Hart for his boldness and intellectual rigor, while others condemned him for his perceived disrespect. The university was thrust into the spotlight, with media outlets clamoring for interviews and reactions. Hart found himself both celebrated and vilified. His sudden fame was a double-edged sword, bringing both admiration and criticism. Hart was thrust into the media spotlight, bombarded with interview requests and public debates. His every word was scrutinized, and his actions were dissected in the media. The public demanded a response, calling for someone with authority and influence to address Hart's provocative claims. As Hart navigated the whirlwind of media attention, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the spotlight. The public's demand for a response grew louder, and the pressure was palpable. In his office, Hart sat at his desk, surrounded by stacks of papers and books. His phone rang incessantly, but he ignored it, lost in thought. His colleague, Professor Emily Carter, knocked on the door and entered, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. "Adrian, are you okay?" she asked, her voice gentle. Hart looked up, a weary smile on his face. "I've never been more in the spotlight, Emily. It's exhausting." Emily nodded, understanding. "I know, but you have to be careful. People are watching, and they're not all on your side." Hart sighed. "I know, but I can't back down now. I have to stand by my beliefs, even if it means facing the storm." Emily placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Just remember, you're not alone. We'll support you no matter what." Later that day, Hart was approached by a student, Sarah, who had attended his lecture. She looked nervous but determined. "Professor Hart, can I talk to you for a moment?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Hart nodded, inviting her to sit. "Of course, Sarah. What's on your mind?" Sarah took a deep breath. I was really moved by your lecture. I've always struggled with my faith, and hearing you speak so openly about it, it made me feel less alone." Hart leaned forward, his expression softening. "Thank you, Sarah. That means a lot to me. Remember, questioning your beliefs is a natural part of growth. It's okay to seek answers." Sarah nodded, a small smile on her face. "Thank you, Professor Hart. I needed to hear that." As Sarah left, Hart felt a flicker of hope. Despite the controversy, he knew he had touched lives, and that gave him strength. The days that followed were a whirlwind of interviews, debates, and public scrutiny. Hart's every move was watched, and his every word was analyzed. The pressure was immense, but he knew he couldn't back down. He had ignited a conversation, and now it was up to others to respond. As the campus continued to buzz with anticipation, the public awaited a response from someone with the authority and influence to address Hart's provocative claims. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, and the world watched with bated breath. Barron Trump sat alone in his luxurious suite, the soft hum of the city outside barely reaching his ears. His eyes were fixed on a framed photograph of his family, the weight of their public image pressing down on him. He was thoughtful and introspective, often lost in his own world, a stark contrast to the bustling public life he was expected to navigate. The relationship between Barron and his father was strained yet undeniably loving. His father, preoccupied with the pressures of politics, often left Barron feeling overshadowed. His mother, a supportive but distant figure, encouraged him to find his own path, her words a gentle whisper in his ear. "Barron, you need to find your own way," she would say, her voice soft but firm. "Don't let the world define you." Barron's conflict was a constant battle. The pressure to uphold his family's public persona clashed with his desire for authenticity. In moments of introspection, flashbacks of his childhood dreams surfaced, revealing a boy who once dreamed of a simpler life, far from the public eye. The media and public demanded a response from Barron, amplifying the pressure. Every move he made was scrutinized, every word dissected. The weight of representing his family's values in the public eye was a burden he carried with quiet determination. Flashbacks and introspective moments revealed Barron's struggle with faith and identity. Beneath his composed exterior lay a storm of inner turmoil. His private beliefs often conflicted with his public role, creating a duality that was both exhausting and isolating. Public expectations escalated, and Barron felt the strain of living up to his family's legacy. The media frenzy turned every word and action into a headline, leaving him with little room for error. Barron's internal debate reached a tipping point. The public outcry demanded a response, and he knew he couldn't stay silent any longer. The moral dilemma weighed heavily on him. How could he stay true to himself while fulfilling his family's expectations? With a deep breath, Barron made his decision. He would speak out, despite the risks. Preparing for the moment, he felt the weight of his decision and its potential consequences. His heart raced as he rehearsed his words, knowing that every syllable would be scrutinized. Barron stood in front of the cameras, his heart pounding. This was his moment in the spotlight, and he needed to deliver a heartfelt response to Professor Hart's lecture. The emotional stakes were high. He had to be vulnerable and authentic. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady, "I stand before you today not as a figurehead, but as a human being grappling with the same questions and struggles that many of you face." He spoke candidly about his own struggles with faith, the importance of empathy, and the need for respectful dialogue. His words were raw and honest, a stark contrast to the polished speeches he was accustomed to delivering. The public's reaction was immediate and mixed. Some praised Barron for his bravery, while others criticized him for stepping out of line. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of media coverage and public debate. Back at home, Barron's family watched the speech with a mix of pride and concern. His father, though initially apprehensive, felt a swell of pride as he saw his son's courage. "Barron, you did the right thing," his mother said, her voice filled with admiration. "You spoke your truth." Barron nodded, feeling a sense of relief and resolve. He had taken a step toward authenticity, and there was no turning back. The journey ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it with newfound strength and clarity. The tension was palpable. Across the nation, screens flickered with anticipation. The media buzzed with speculation. Everyone was waiting for Barron Trump's live broadcast response to Professor Hart's controversial lecture. The air was thick with expectation, and the silence was deafening. Barron stood backstage, his heart pounding. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. As he stepped onto the stage, the bright lights blinded him momentarily. He could feel the weight of the nation's gaze upon him. With a mix of nervousness and determination, he began to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen," he started, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I stand before you today, not as a figurehead, but as a human being grappling with the same questions and struggles that many of you face." Barron's voice grew stronger as he delved into his personal struggles. He spoke candidly about his journey of faith, the doubts that plagued him, and the moments of clarity that brought him peace. I've always been taught to uphold certain values, to represent my family in a certain way, he said, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. But today I want to be honest. I want to share my struggles, my fears, and my hopes. He paused, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. When he continued, his voice was filled with conviction. We live in a world where division seems to be the norm, but I believe that empathy and respectful dialogue can bridge even the deepest divides. We need to listen to each other, to understand each other, and to find common ground. As Barron finished his speech, the nation erupted. Social media exploded with reactions. Some praised his bravery, calling him a beacon of hope. Others criticized him, saying he had stepped out of line and betrayed his family's values. Back at the family estate, Barron's parents watched the speech with bated breath. His mother's eyes filled with tears of pride, while his father looked on with a mix of admiration and concern. "Barron, you did the right thing," his mother said, her voice trembling. "You spoke your truth." His father nodded, though his expression was somber. "I'm proud of you, son. But this won't be easy. There will be backlash." Public opinion was divided. Some lauded Barron's bravery, hailing him as a new voice for a divided nation. Others criticized him, saying he had betrayed his family's legacy. The media frenzy intensified, with headlines and debates dominating the airwaves. Professor Hart watched Barron's speech from his office, initially dismissive, but as he listened he found himself moved by Barron's sincerity. Hart felt a pang of self-doubt, questioning his own beliefs and the impact of his words. Hart's mind raced as he replayed Barron's speech. He had always been confident in his views, but Barron's words struck a chord. Hart began to question his own beliefs, wondering if he had been too quick to judge. This moment marked a turning point in Hart's relationship with Barron. Hart realized that he needed to reevaluate his stance and consider the impact of his words. The narrative shifted, setting the stage for personal transformation. The immediate aftermath of the speech was chaotic. Barron's family and friends reacted with a mix of pride and concern. The media coverage intensified, with every word and action scrutinized. Barron felt the weight of the nation's gaze upon him, but he also felt a sense of relief. Barron's speech became a catalyst for change, both personally and publicly. He navigated the consequences of his actions with newfound strength and clarity. His journey of self-discovery and advocacy for empathy and dialogue inspired others to speak out about their own struggles. As the dust settled, Barron stood tall, ready to face whatever came next. He had taken a step toward authenticity, and there was no turning back. Barron's family and friends reacted to his speech with a mix of pride and concern. His mother, Melania, was the first to speak, her voice filled with emotion. "Barron, you did the right thing," she said, her eyes glistening with tears. "You spoke your truth." His father, Donald, nodded, though his expression was somber. "I'm proud of you, son, but this won't be easy. There will be backlash." Barron's younger brother, Eric, clapped him on the shoulder. "You were amazing, bro. I knew you had it in you." The public was divided. Some saw Barron as a hero, a beacon of hope in a divided nation. Others criticized him for stepping out of line, saying he had betrayed his family's legacy. Social media erupted with commentary, highlighting the divide in public opinion and amplifying the debate. The press covered the story extensively. Some outlets praised Barron's bravery, calling him a voice for the voiceless. Others criticized his deviation from the family's usual stoicism, labeling him a rebel and a disappointment. Social media was ablaze with reactions. Hashtags like Barron Speaks and Trump Family Divide trended worldwide. Supporters lauded Barron's honesty, while detractors called for him to step down from his public role. Barron took a step back from the public eye, seeking solace in his faith and the support of his loved ones. He spent hours in quiet reflection, finding comfort in the familiar routines of his childhood home. Barron engaged in deep, heartfelt conversations with his family, leading to a more honest and open relationship. One evening he sat down with his father, who had always been a figure of authority and distance. "Dad, I need you to understand," Barron began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I did it because I had to be true to myself." Donald listened, his expression softening. "I know, son, I understand. It's a lot to handle." Barron reflected on his actions and their consequences, realizing the importance of staying true to himself despite the pressures of public life. He understood that his speech had sparked a conversation, and he was determined to see it through. Barron's reflections led to a new perspective on his role and responsibilities, both public and private. He realized that he could be a force for good, using his platform to advocate for empathy and understanding. The family dynamic shifted as Barron's honesty and vulnerability created a more open and supportive environment. His parents began to see him as a young man with his own ideas and ambitions, rather than just a member of the Trump family. The public's perception of Barron began to evolve. Some started to see him as a more relatable and authentic figure, someone who was willing to speak out about his struggles and beliefs. Barron contemplated his future actions and decisions, determined to navigate the public eye with greater authenticity and integrity. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it head-on. Barron took time to heal and reflect, preparing for the next steps in his journey of personal growth and public engagement. He knew that his speech had been a turning point, and he was ready to embrace the changes it had brought. As the dust settled, Barron stood tall, ready to face whatever came next. He had taken a step towards authenticity, and there was no turning back. Barron's relationship with his father had always been a delicate balance of respect and distance. The fallout from his speech added a new layer of complexity. Donald Trump, the former president, was a man of strong convictions, and Barron's public declaration had shaken him deeply. "Barron, you know how important it is to stand together," Donald said, his voice heavy with concern. "Your speech, it's caused a lot of unrest." Barron nodded, his expression earnest. "I know, Dad, but I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to speak my truth." Despite the strain, Barron and his father found common ground. They spent long hours in conversation, navigating the fallout together. Donald began to see his son not just as a member of the family, but as a young man with his own convictions and ambitions. "I understand, son," Donald said one evening, his voice softer than usual. "I just want you to know that I'm proud of you. It takes courage to stand up for what you believe in." Barron smiled, feeling a sense of relief. "Thank you, Dad. That means a lot to me." Barron's mother, Melania, had always been a source of unwavering support. She watched the family dynamics shift with a mix of pride and concern. Her quiet strength provided a stabilizing force amidst the chaos. "Barron, you did the right thing," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "You need to stay true to yourself no matter what." Barron leaned into her embrace, feeling a sense of comfort and reassurance. "Thank you, Mom. I needed to hear that." Barron began to redefine his role within his family and public life. He aligned his actions with his personal values, using his platform to advocate for empathy and open dialogue. His speeches and interviews took on a new tone, one of authenticity and vulnerability. "I want to be a voice for those who feel unheard," he said in one interview. "We need to listen to each other, to understand each other's struggles." Barron emerged as a new advocate, using his influence to promote positive change. He spoke at conferences, wrote op-eds, and engaged with the public in ways that were both genuine and impactful. His message resonated with many, inspiring a new wave of empathy and understanding. "I believe we can bridge our differences," he said in a speech. "We just need to start by listening." The media and public began to see Barron in a new light. His vulnerability and honesty won him admiration and respect. The once critical headlines shifted to praise his courage and authenticity. "Barron Trump, a new voice for a divided nation," read one headline. The public's perception of him began to evolve, seeing him as a more relatable and authentic figure. Barron's journey inspired others to speak out about their own struggles and the importance of mental health. He received letters and messages from people around the world, sharing their stories and thanking him for his honesty. "You gave me the courage to speak up," read one heartfelt message. "Thank you for showing us that it's okay to be vulnerable." His actions sparked a broader conversation about the pressures of public life and the need for authenticity. Panels and discussions were held, and the media covered the growing movement for empathy and understanding. "We need to create a world where people feel safe to be themselves," Barron said in a panel discussion. "That starts with each of us." Barron's personal growth was evident as he navigated the complexities of fame with newfound confidence and integrity. He felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that he was making a difference. "I never thought I'd be in this position," he reflected in a quiet moment, "but I'm grateful for the opportunity to make a positive impact." The public's perception of Barron shifted, leading to widespread acclaim and admiration for his courage and authenticity. He received awards and accolades, but more importantly, he felt a sense of connection with his audience. Barron Trump, a beacon of hope in turbulent times, read another headline. The public's admiration grew, recognizing his efforts to promote empathy and understanding. Barron's family found a new sense of harmony and understanding. They supported each other through the challenges of public life, their bond stronger than ever. "We're in this together," Donald said at a family gathering. "We need to support each other no matter what." Melania nodded, her eyes filled with pride. "We're a family, and we'll always be there for each other." Barron's journey left a lasting impact, encouraging others to pursue their own paths of personal growth and redemption. His story became a symbol of hope and authenticity, inspiring a new generation to speak their truth. As Barron stood on stage at a conference, he felt a sense of fulfillment. "We can create a better world," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "It starts with each of us." The audience erupted in applause, their faces alight with hope and admiration. Barron knew that his journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever came next with newfound strength and clarity. Barron stood at the edge of the stage, the applause still ringing in his ears. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Thank you for listening. In a world where we're often told to hide our true selves, I want to remind you that authenticity is our greatest strength. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be human." The camera panned to the audience, where Barron's family sat together. Melania's eyes were filled with pride while Donald nodded, a rare smile on his face. Eric and Tiffany clapped enthusiastically, their faces alight with admiration. The family's journey had been fraught with challenges, but they had emerged stronger and more united than ever. Barron's voice softened as he continued. "We often forget that even those in the spotlight are human. We have our struggles, our fears, and our doubts. But it's in these moments of vulnerability that we find our strength." He paused, reflecting on his own journey. "I've been through a lot. There were moments when I felt like I was losing myself, moments when I thought I couldn't go on. But I learned that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be honest about who you are." Barron's eyes sparkled with determination. "Vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. It's what allows us to connect, to understand, and to grow. My journey has taught me that being true to yourself is the most powerful thing you can do." He turned to the audience, his voice filled with passion. "We need to be more empathetic. We need to understand that everyone has a story, everyone has struggles. Let's judge less and listen more." Barron's gaze swept over the crowd. "I encourage each of you to embrace authenticity in your own lives. Don't be afraid to be who you are, to share your story. The world needs your voice." The camera cut to clips of Barron's journey, from his initial struggles to his triumphant speeches. His words had sparked a movement, inspiring others to speak out about their own mental health and authenticity. The legacy of change was evident in the faces of those who had found strength in his message. Barron's voice grew reflective. "Finding balance is a constant journey. It's about knowing when to push forward and when to take a step back. It's about understanding that ambition and personal well-being go hand in hand." He smiled, feeling a sense of hope and renewal. "As we look to the future, let's do so with honesty and integrity. Let's create a world where we can all be true to ourselves, without fear of judgment." The audience erupted in applause once more, their faces filled with admiration and inspiration. Barron's journey had left a lasting impact, not just on his family, but on everyone who had heard his message. As he stepped off the stage, he felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had made a difference. The future was uncertain, but he was ready to face it with newfound strength and clarity.